Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this is one of those performances that I've seen many times, and I did a video on this many years ago, but I've always wanted to revisit it because when I first did it, I didn't have time or didn't have the facilities to get the guitar out and demonstrate what Alex Lifeson was playing during this performance. So we're going to be doing that tonight, or at least attempting to, and we're going to watch this the whole way through because it's one of those performances that you just sit back, relax, take it all in, and the amount of crowd interaction we get in this performance, considering it's an instrumental, is just off the charts. But let's get everybody up on screen and see how they get on. And there we have it. If that performance doesn't put a smile on your face, then there's got to be something wrong with you. This is one of those performances that you really have to take a step back and appreciate that this is a three-piece, because it's something that you never even consider for a moment. The amount of sound we've got, how full it is, the fact that Alex's tone, Alex Lifeson here on lead guitar, just fills in so much space, but they are so tight as a unit. When they jump from one lead section to the next, and we have Geddy Lee here on bass, who actually flips over to keys as well, to the synth sound, where we have Alex's really cool lead over the top that it's almost dripping in tone and delay and reverb. Alex's tone here is so cool, and behind that drum kit we got Neil Peart, and Neil was one of the all-time great drummers, and this kind of performance really does show that. But it's the collective, it's three guys that are so technically proficient that normally just a band would be happy to have one of these guys in any of the positions, and it just so happens you got three guys in the same band as a three-piece who are just this good technically, just at the top level. When you also add in the fact that Geddy Lee vocally is so unique with his vocal sound, you've just got a band the likes of which will never come again. It's easy to say that a three-piece like Rush, there's never been anything like them, and there will never be anything like them again. The vibe, the energy, the interaction with the crowd, the fact that we've just got guys playing instruments here, there's no lead vocal, there's no shouting out into the crowd and getting a vocal response from them back. This is all the music. That's all it is that's moving everybody in this way. So we've got the guitar out. I just want to go through a little bit of what Alex is doing here in terms of the technique on the right hand and what is involved with playing the riff and the lead, and also a bit of background behind the track, because YYZ or YYZ is a song that was based on the Morse code or the call sign for Toronto Airport. And when you know the Morse code for YYZ, it makes it a little bit easier to play, because if my memory serves me correctly, we have a dash dot dash 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 dot dash 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 dot dot. That's what the Morse code is, and that's what has been put into the music here from Rush. And you could easily do this and it could just sound contrived and not work because you're trying to make a call sign for an airport into a song. But this is just great. This is the top combination of technical ability, writing ability, and putting something into a song and just making it sound great. But we've got this kind of like that. I think that was right. So we have that one, and if I was going dash dot dash 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 dot dash 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 dot dot, and this at the end is a little alternate pick down up. We're doubling up the time there, or the speed of it, in order to really get it into a 10/8 time signature. And when you're counting along with this, it means that in 10/8 you have to count to 10. Normally you go 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 in standard timing, which is 4/4. But here you're going to have to count to 10. So you can try and do that when you're listening along to that intro. And with the right hand, it doesn't really matter too much how you play this. You can just do it all downstrokes if you want to. Like that. Let's have a little listen to the track so we've got that reference point. Okay, so we then go into a little bit of a lead section where, again, super tight here, and then we're into this main riff of the song. But when I'm talking about the main riff of the song, this is one of those places, the location of the song that we come back to, and that's what's happening on the journey. When I talk about places musically, this is somewhere that we revisit, and it brings us back home to this particular riff, and it is so melodic, it is so cool that you just do want to return to this place because you don't ever get tired of this melody. Just to mention as well that I'm using this live performance as my reference point, so things might be different on the original recording compared to this live performance, and I'm just going to try and decipher what's going on here. So we'll have a little listen to the fast runs that happen after we've got our 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have a little run up. It's really fast, so I'll kind of have a rough approximation of the runs going on. Okay, so that's the first one. So, let me just make sure those are the right notes. Aha. Okay, so a semitone higher. And it's tough to make out exactly what notes we've got going on here, but that's the one that's really going to stand out, obviously the C, and that's going to be on the 5th fret of your G string here. But the other thing about this is, with that right hand, working your way across it, going... There's a lot of alternate picking going on here, but also... we're being really economical with our picking. So economy picking here, going down. It depends how you want to do it. I mean, you can. You can just alternate pick it if you want to. I'm not sure how it's phrased at the end there. Whether it's more exaggerated. Just at that last part. But anyway, you can hear from all of that alternate picking, this isn't easy stuff. So Alex is just playing through this as if it's nothing, and watch him throughout the whole performance because he's playing top technical stuff with that right hand, with the left hand, and he's moving around, getting into it. Geddy Lee as well. You can see how much the band are into this performance, and that really does translate through to the audience who get into it just as much. But let's get into the next little run. Okay, that was a little bit easier. Just 4 notes there. And... okay, so that's... it kind of sounds like that. It sounds like there's more picking going on there. Kind of like that, along those lines. Like I said, it's a rough approximation of the playing in this live performance, but then we've got this riff which is just so catchy, and the whole crowd are getting into it, singing it back. And when you're listening to the melody of this, we've got this... and that's what really comes across. We are going to get into what Alex is actually playing here, because, again, it's mightily impressive. And once we've got... we then shift up to playing exactly the same thing, but from the 5th fret. But it isn't that easy. So in slow motion, what's happening is we're going... that's the first line. So we've got that little semitone rundown. And this is why, when you're playing a simplified version of it, it's not going to sound like Alex when he's playing this. And you can hear there's more picking going on, there's more notes. There's a little semitone rundown going on there, that, like that, and that, just to exaggerate it a little bit. So we've got this, like that, when we stick those two together. And it's all about keeping that right hand really organized again, because you're going to be alternate picking all of this. Like that. And you can apply a little bit of palm mute on there as well if you want to. As you can hear with my tone, I've got some delay on there, a lot of distortion, just to try and get a similar kind of tone. But when we've played through that, we're then taking that same run up to the 5th fret. And we've got a little turnaround here. Let me have a little listen. Okay, so we've got this. So it's just going to be pedaling between that G and the D string, and then the D and the A string. So I'll slow that down. Like that. Once you've done that, then back into the riff again down at the bottom. Sometimes with the palm mute as well, just to get it to pop out a little bit, but keeping control of it. Sometimes you'll hear little things like going, or like that, a little pinched harmonic that just sneaks its way in there throughout the performance. And this is something that when a guitarist is really comfortable playing something, they just start to subconsciously throw in these little bits of flavor and personality in their playing that they're not really thinking about, but Alex does this. He just occasionally throws in a little harmonic here or there, and it just sounds so cool. But let's just get into the next section. Okay, I'm just going to jump in here because, again, we've got melody all the way through this song, and this is the great thing about it, and why everyone can get into it so much is because we've just got strong melody throughout the whole composition, and great playing as well. I know we're focusing on the guitar, but listen to Geddy's bass playing, some of the runs that he throws together, and Neil on that drum kit. You can spend the whole performance just listening to one instrumentalist and just get so much out of that. And this is what Rush were all about. It's just three top players technically, and they just came together so well. Anyway, getting into this now great melody we've got going on. We've got this little run up and a little bend with that little finger, I do believe Alex is using. So we've got this, and that's just a jump down to 7th fret here, first finger, and 8, 9, and 11 on that G string, dropping down to the 7th fret of the D, and a little bend with a little finger. And in terms of where we're going to with that bend, it's on the borderline between the tone and the tone and a half. So it's kind of between that, going like that. So it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where that bend goes to, but it's just going with the feel of it, really. That's what you're aiming for here. So then getting into the next section, I'll play through this first part again. And there, coming onto that 9th fret. And here, we've got this 1st fret, 3rd fret on the B string. And a little hammer on and pull off there, a couple, maybe 3. sliding up to the 8th fret with that 3rd finger on the B string. And then we've got a similar kind of phrase the second time. So we're having the hammer on and pull off twice. And then hammer on, pull off twice with that little finger as well. I think if you've got big hands, you can stretch over and use that 3rd finger. I'm more comfortable using that little finger. But this is another thing that I think Alex is very strict with his just 2 hammer-ons and pull-offs in that section. So it means that altogether we've got and then we go back into the riff at that point. But really melodic. This is the main thing to point out, is that you can have all of the technique in the world on the fretboard, but if you don't write melodically, it's not going to connect with an audience. And this really is the proof in the pudding, that this melody is strong and it's connecting with people and they're getting into it and they're singing back parts of the song. And that's all you can ever want as a composer and a songwriter, is for your music to connect to people en masse, and it certainly is here. Let's jump back into it. So we've just got our changes from B to C, and we're taking the top end of the chord. So we've got this kind of sound, and Alex right at the end there was just arpeggiating the chord like that. So in slow motion he's going like that and catching that high E string twice, probably just with an upstroke, kind of like that. Like that, and you can incorporate it into your downstroke like that. So rather than having to do 2 upstrokes. And I mean, it depends how you prefer to do it, but probably the most efficient way is to do it like that. A little upstroke, but again, loads of technique here on the right hand in order to break up that chord, and I believe that he's using his wah-wah pedal with it as well. So it's always a bit of a giveaway when the guitarist is making the wah-wah sound with their mouth. It means that that's how they're expressing with that pedal. But let's continue. And there we get back to the riff, and again we've got these locations within the song and the journey of the song that we return to, and this riff being a great example of that. I'm not going to be pointing out all of the notes of that solo by Alex, there's way too much in there, but you'll probably be happy to hear that. But we do have this really cool start to it, pulling off to the open B string, so that kind of thing. And we start to get a little bit of this Phrygian dominant sound, the scale I've referred to as the Egyptian scale before, where it means that we're gives it such a unique flavour. And as we work our way up, all the way to the top, jumping over there even. You know, taking it all the way down to that second fret of your low E string. But all of that stuff is going to give it such a unique sound, and Alex just works his way through that shape, just occasionally throwing in a little bend here or there. That kind of thing. So really nice sound to it. Great playing. Let me not underestimate the importance of vibrato here as well, where you are throwing together any lines, being able to get that little wobble on there, and just adding it at the end there. So the alternative would be and it kind of loses its personality. This is something that Alex has in his vibrato. It just puts meaning and feel into the playing, the way that he just uses that. Yeah, rather than just playing it straight and just holding on, he'll throw in a little wobble. Just quickly to show the importance of that vibrato, we'll have a little listen to the end of this solo, where we get into this little section that is great because we're not having loads of notes following on from each other, we're just getting one note played, but because of the changes that are happening from Geddy on the keys, it just makes all the difference just staying on one note. You don't need to play a million notes at once. And there it was. So we had this open B string rundown, and then we get into, it's actually there, 10th fret. And that's all that Alex is doing, just spending a little bit of time on that, maybe throwing in a pinched harmonic, but it's just letting the music speak rather than just hitting you in the face all the time with lots of notes at once. So it's that restraint as well that all the best bands have. They know exactly where to put the spaces and the silence, as well as where to fill in the gaps. But let's just watch it until the end, because we're back into the riff, and then we'll be into that part as well. Again, these locations that we're visiting on the journey. And there we have it. Also right at the end there where we have our... It's taking that journey full circle. So we're now back at the beginning by having the intro section as the outro. So it's really cool the way that it's been put together from a compositional standpoint, because you've just got set sections that we're visiting that we revisit, but it never gets boring because of the amount of melody that's in there. And that's just the key word, is pairing melody with technical ability, and this is what you get when you talk about just top technical ability and top melody. I just want to point out one of those cheeky harmonics that Alex throws in there. And there it was. So he's just backed out of the... And he goes... And he just throws in a really cool pinched harmonic that the delay just grabs hold of, and it just is going to blend into that next part. It just never gets old watching this performance because of the amount of fun the guys are having on stage, and that's what music is all about. Just enjoying yourselves, but also for that enjoyment to then be transferred through to an audience, and when the audience are enjoying it as well, you get one of these one-off performances that just will... thankfully be on YouTube and available for the rest of time, so people can see what a great band Rush were, not only in the studio but just killed it live. And you can see here they don't need to be running around the stage and jumping from the top of their amps. They're just entertaining with pure musicianship and technical ability, and just above all quality. These three guys, when they got together, were just on a totally different level. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at so long ago, a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, but I wanted to revisit it with the guitar out just so we could have a look at Alex's technique on the fretboard, but also that right hand, because it will fly under the radar. But as I said, thanks again for suggesting this video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock.